Okay, this is European exploration. This is 8th grade U.S. history. My name is Patrick Hirth. The standards we're going to be addressing today are students will explain why and give examples of how populations changed and migrated. And also students will explain events and conditions that led to the Great Convergence and analyze how America's diverse society developed. So there's a couple different ways we're going to do this. Here are our objectives. I can describe which European explorer is credited with each discovery. I can understand why explorers explored the unknown. And I can explain how the Columbian Exchange had both positive and negative effects. So there's a couple different ways we're going to do this. We're going to use a PowerPoint, we're going to use some interactive games, and we're going to use a graphic organizer. So first let me pull up the study guide here. Students were given an Explorer graphic organizer to use as a study guide for upcoming assessments. On the right side, you have the discoveries for each explorer. So for example, first European to set foot in Florida. On the left side, you have a blank box where students will fill in the explorer's name throughout the PowerPoint. This is just a way to use guided notes so that students pay attention and update their notes as we go along throughout the PowerPoint. Also, at the very bottom will be our first question, define convergence. Being known as the Great Convergence, I would like students to be able to enhance their vocabulary and understand what converge means. So that will be the first step in the process. So each student will be given one of these study guides to begin the lesson. We'll begin the PowerPoint. Here's the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint, the Age of Exploration, the Great Convergence. I will run through the PowerPoint explaining each slide, talking about it, and having students update their notes as we go along. The slide consists of information on the Great Convergence, the explorers, and also the Columbian Exchange. What was the Great Convergence? This is where we're going to define convergence at the bottom of our study guide. So a couple of different bullet points here. Too much. So the Great Convergence. The Great Convergence was a time period when Europeans began to explore the rest of the world. Improvements in map making, shipbuilding, and navigation is what made this possible. And cultures began to interact and spread. What they need to understand is that to converge means to come together. So we have a bunch of different cultures coming together. There's a reason that we have different foods in the Americas, because we have Chinese food, we have Italian food. It's all coming together. The different cultures are beginning to mix and come together because of this exploration. Our first explorer we're going to discuss, Bartholomew Diaz, the first European to lead an 1847 voyage around the Cape of Good Hope and the southernmost tip of Africa. So students are required to find this accomplishment on the right side of their study guide and fill in his name. Once again, this will be used as a simple study guide for upcoming assessments. So our first explorer is Bartholomew Diaz. This is just a simple map of his exploration. We're going to talk about him stopping at the tip of Africa. So you can clearly see right here that he does not go around Africa. He clearly stops right at the tip of Africa. Vasco da Gama would be our next explorer. He goes around the tip of Africa, and he opens important trade routes from Europe to India in the East Indies. So looking at his map, emphasize the importance that he does not stop. He continues to go around, opening trade routes between India and Europe. Ferdinand Magellan, first person to circumnavigate the world. Couple important notes on Magellan. One, he did not survive the voyage. He was killed in the Philippines. And two, he was the first voyage to prove that the earth was round. At the time, people believed that the earth was flat, and you had the ability to fall off the earth at some point in time. His crew was the first to prove that if you start at point A, you can also end at point A by going around in a circle. Circumnavigate, one of our word wall words for this week. Just a map of Magellan's voyage. Juan Ponce de Leon. sailed to Spain, claimed Florida for Spain. So the first European to set foot on Florida, he claimed Florida for Spain. Christopher Columbus, somebody who everybody's probably heard of and understands, discovered the New World by accident, was not planning on landing over in the New World. It was a complete accident. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Discussed the importance of Columbus. Discussed some of the myths that come along with Columbus. Many people are familiar with Columbus, so this is just reiterating perhaps previous knowledge. Another one of our learning objectives and standards that need to be addressed is the Columbian Exchange. Columbian Exchange is the exchange of goods and services from across the world. The important note is that it's both positive and negative. This diagram that I use to show the students shows some of the important issues and items that are used every day. So we have fruits, vegetables, livestock, cattle, sheep, pigs, things like that that we associate with every single day. But also understanding the negative aspects of it with diseases, smallpox, influenza, typhus, measles, things like that that came along with the Columbian Exchange. So we're going to get into the fact that the diseases killed many of the Native Americans, people living here, because they were not immune to these diseases. So understanding that the Columbian Exchange had both a positive and a negative effect on the world. Cortez, our first conquistador, famous for conquering the Aztec Empire. Pizarro, known for conquering the Inca Empire. Make sure we don't get those two confused. That's why we created a study guide so students can create note cards and remember them. Amerigo Vespucci, North and South America, is named after this explorer. Vasco Núñez de Balboa, first European to see the Pacific Ocean from its eastern shore. Jacques Cartier, search for the Northwest Passage, which is also one of our word wall words this week. Samuel de Champlain, the founder of Quebec City, known as the father of Canada. Henry Hudson, Hudson Bay, Hudson River, search for the Northwest Passage. And finally, Marco Polo, a famous explorer who traveled to China, Japan, Persia. Emphasized the importance of Marco Polo's writings in his journal, how people learned about other cultures from his discoveries and from his journals. So following the PowerPoint, students should have their study guide completed. All information should be completed. Using this information, they're going to create a study guide for not only the upcoming assessments, but the activity in which we're going to take place in here shortly. Let me pull that up for us real quick. On Zondel.com, I've created a new category where students will come and they'll be asked a series of questions in which they can reply, and then followed by an interactive game. So we click on games. We can pick any games. There's multiple different options here. Pick this space game. Start. So students will be asked a series of questions that correspond with their study guide and the PowerPoint they just previously learned. Students can answer each question together. We're going to be taking turns up on the computer and the multiple computers that I'll rent from the library for this activity. So for example, discover the New World by accident. So they'll look at the four choices, try to eliminate the ones they know it's not, and try to get the correct answer. If they need further directions, they can click on this. It'll tell them what to do. You can click on Columbus. America was named after this explorer, Amerigo Vespucci, and then you can play the game here. So a correct answer will allow students to play the game. So by using the mouse and the space bar, they'll be trying to avoid the asteroids. And I'm not very good at it. So they'll go on like this for a series of questions using their study guide. This is to make sure that they understand the importance of the study guide and what the assessment questions will look like. So we'll go one more question. The first European to set foot on Florida. Their study guide should tell them that is Juan Ponce de Leon. They'll get another example, another chance to play the game. So we will use those as examples, a way to test their study guide knowledge. Going back to our presentation and our review slide, take a look at what we just covered here. Obviously, very quickly, I would slow it down with the students, answer more questions, be more interactive and involved and engaged in the lesson. Our review here says the Great Compromise is a time period when multiple cultures began to come together. That was the first question we answered on our study guide. Next question says many explorers from multiple different countries went on voyages in search of gold, glory, and goods, the 3Gs. Easy way to remember some of the reasons people explore the unknown. The Columbian Exchange had both positive and negative effects on the world, so we took a look at those different effects. We had the diseases, but we also had the fruits, vegetables, domesticated animals that became such a vital part of the world. And then we used our answers from our study guide to answer the questions on the website and played the interactive game. So this was European Explorers for 8th grade U.S. History. My name is Patrick Hirth.